The 2 weeks before the custody hearing passed in a blur. Brielle started her job at Northwestern Memorial Hospital, and it felt like coming back to life. The familiar rhythm of checking vitals, administering medication, comforting scared children, it reminded her of who she used to be, who she could be again. Her supervisor, Carol, was tough but fair. The other nurses welcomed her. And for the first time in 3 years, Brielle had a paycheck coming that would actually cover more than just survival. Every night, she came home to Cade's house, though she was starting to think of it as just home, exhausted but fulfilled. Cade would have dinner waiting, sometimes takeout, sometimes his attempts at cooking that made Ivy giggle. "Mr. Cade, you burned the chicken again," Ivy would say, poking at blackened meat with her fork. "It's called crispy," Cade would reply seriously. "It's called burnt," Brielle would correct, trying not to laugh. Those moments felt dangerously normal, dangerously comfortable, like a real family. Brielle tried not to think about it too much. Try not to notice how Cade's eyes lingered on her when she laughed. Try not to feel the electricity when their hands accidentally touched while washing dishes. This was temporary, a business arrangement, nothing more. But her heart wasn't listening to her head anymore. 3 days before the hearing, Julian called an emergency meeting. They gathered in Cade's living room. Brielle, Cade, and Julian, who'd brought a thick folder of documents. Claudette's team sent over their evidence, Julian announced, dropping the folder on the coffee table. "It's bad." Brielle's stomach dropped. "How bad?" Julian opened the folder. "Photos of you sleeping in your car. Motel receipts showing you moved every few days. Testimony from your former landlord about the eviction. Medical records showing Ivy missed 2 wellness checkups." "I couldn't afford the co-pays," Brielle said weakly. "I know, but they're painting a picture of neglect," Julian explained. "That's not fair," Cade interjected, his voice hard. "Fair doesn't matter in court. Perception does," Julian replied. "They're also planning to question your living arrangement here." "We have the rental agreement," Brielle pointed out, "for $1 a month. They'll argue it's a sham, that you're in an inappropriate relationship to secure housing," Julian said bluntly. Brielle felt her face heat. "There's no relationship. Cade's just helping me." Julian looked between them. "Are you sure about that?" The question hung in the air. Cade and Brielle carefully avoided looking at each other. "Yes," Brielle said firmly. "We're sure." Julian didn't look convinced, but he moved on. "Okay, here's our strategy. We focus on the present, not the past. You have stable housing, good employment. Ivy's enrolled in a quality daycare. You're providing everything a child needs. What about character witnesses?" Cade asked. "I've lined up Carol from the hospital and the daycare director. Both will testify to Brielle's responsibility and Ivy's well-being," Julian answered. "What about me?" Cade offered. Julian shook his head. "Bad idea. You're too close to the situation. Claudette's lawyers will tear into your motivations." "My motivations are helping someone who needed it," Cade said sharply. "And they'll make it sound like you're either sleeping with her or want to," Julian stated bluntly. "Either way, it hurts Brielle's case." Cade's jaw clenched. Brielle could see the muscle ticking. "He's right," she said quietly. "You can't testify, Cade." Cade looked at her, frustration and something else, something deeper, in his dark eyes. "I want to help. You already have. More than you know," Brielle assured him. Their eyes held for a moment too long. Julian cleared his throat. "There's one more thing. They're calling Ivy to speak to the judge." Brielle's head snapped toward him. "What?" "No. She's 5 years old. The judge can interview children privately in custody cases. It's standard procedure," Julian explained. "She'll be terrified," Brielle protested. "The judge will be gentle. They just want to hear Ivy's perspective, where she feels safe, who she wants to live with," Julian said. "And if Claudette's convinced her that I'm a bad mother?" Brielle asked, her voice breaking. "Ivy loves you. That'll come through," Julian assured her. But Brielle wasn't convinced. That night, after Ivy was asleep, Brielle sat on the back porch, staring at nothing. Cade found her there. "Mind if I sit?" he asked. "It's your house," Brielle replied. "Our house. For now," Cade corrected, sitting beside her on the porch steps. They sat in silence for a while. The night was cool, autumn settling into early winter. "I'm scared," Brielle finally admitted. "What if I lose her?" "You won't," Cade said firmly. "You don't know that," she countered. "I know you're a good mother. I know Ivy adores you. I know you fought like hell to keep her safe and fed and loved." "That has to count for something," Cade insisted. "Should count and does count are two different things," Brielle said bitterly. Cade was quiet for a moment. Then he said, "When I was in Afghanistan, we had a saying, control what you can control." You can't control the judge. Can't control Claudette. But you can control how you show up in that courtroom. Confident. Strong. Like the mother you are. Brielle looked at him. What did you get so wise? I'm not. I just know what it's like to fight battles that feel unwinnable, Cade replied. Did you win yours? She asked softly. Cade's expression darkened. Some. Not all. Brielle reached out and took his hand. It was warm, strong, steady. Thank you, she said, for everything. I don't know how I'll ever repay you. Cade looked down at their joined hands. You don't have to repay anything. Cade, Brielle, I didn't do this for payback. I did it because. He trailed off. Because why? She pressed. He looked up, meeting her eyes. Because from the moment I saw you fighting to take care of Ivy, even when you were exhausted and scared and had nothing, I saw strength. Real strength. And I want to be part of that. Part of your fight. Brielle's breath caught. Cade. He was leaning closer. Or maybe she was. The space between them shrinking. Tell me to stop, Cade said, his voice rough. Brielle should. She knew she should. This was complicated. Messy. Dangerous. But she didn't want to. Don't stop, she whispered. Cade kissed her. Gentle at first, then deeper. His hand came up to cup her face, thumb brushing her cheek. Brielle melted into him, her fingers threading through his short hair. When they finally pulled apart, both breathing hard, Brielle pressed her forehead to his. This is a terrible idea, she murmured. Probably, Cade agreed. Julian said it would hurt my case if people thought we were together, she reminded him. So we keep it private. Just between us, Cade suggested. Can we do that? Brielle asked. We can do anything we want, Cade replied. Brielle pulled back slightly to look at him. What is this? What are we doing? Cade tucked a strand of hair behind her ear. I don't know, but I want to find out. After the hearing, after everything settles, I want to see where this goes. And if I lose Ivy, Brielle's voice broke. If Claudette wins and takes her, then I'll help you appeal. And we'll fight until you get her back. But you're not doing any of this alone anymore. Understand? Cade said fiercely. Brielle's eyes filled with tears. Why are you so good to me? Because you deserve it, Cade said simply. They sat there on the porch, hands intertwined, until the cold drove them inside. If you're feeling the chemistry between these two, drop a comment telling me what you think happens next. And don't forget to subscribe. The courtroom scene is coming, and it's going to have you on the edge of your seat. The morning of the hearing, Brielle barely slept. She was up at 5, showering, doing her hair, making sure her sleek ponytail was perfect. She wore the navy blazer and dress pants from the interview. Professional, put together, even if she was falling apart inside. Kay made breakfast, but Brielle couldn't eat. Ivy chattered happily, oblivious to what today meant. Are you going to work, Mama? Ivy asked. Mama has an important meeting today, baby, Brielle explained carefully. Can I come? Ivy requested. You'll come for a little bit. Then you'll go with Miss Carroll, Brielle said. They'd arranged for Carroll to take Ivy if things went badly. Brielle couldn't bear the thought of Claudette's people taking her straight from the courthouse. Cade drove them downtown. The courthouse was imposing, all stone and steps and authority. Julian met them at the entrance. You ready? He asked Brielle. No, she answered honestly. Good. Confidence is good, but overconfidence loses cases, Julian said. Just tell the truth. Stay calm. Don't let Claudette's lawyers rattle you. They went through security and made their way to family court, 3rd floor. Outside the courtroom, Brielle saw her. Claudette. She was in her 60s, silver hair, perfectly styled, wearing an expensive cream suit. Thin, elegant, cold. 2 lawyers flanked her, both in sharp suits carrying briefcases. When Claudette's eyes landed on Brielle, her expression was pure disdain. Then Ivy ran ahead. Grandma, the little girl called out. Claudette's face transformed, softened. Ivy, darling. She knelt down, carefully because of the expensive suit, and Ivy ran into her arms. Brielle's heart twisted. Claudette did love Ivy, in her own complicated, possessive way. I missed you so much, sweetheart, Claudette said, holding Ivy close. Grandma's going to make sure you're taken care of properly. Brielle stepped forward. Ivy, come here, baby. Ivy pulled back from Claudette and looked between the 2 women, confusion on her small face. Why is everyone so serious? Ivy asked. It's just grown-up business, darling. Nothing for you to worry about, Claudette said smoothly. Then she looked at Brielle, her expression hardening. Though some of us should have been worrying more about our responsibilities. Don't, Brielle warned, her voice low. Don't what? Tell the truth? That you've been dragging my granddaughter through motels and making her sleep in cars. Claudette challenged. That's enough, Cade said, stepping forward. His voice was quiet but carried the unmistakable authority of someone used to being obeyed. Claudette's eyes flicked him. And you must be the latest meal ticket. How long until you get tired of playing house with someone else's family? I said, that's enough, Cade repeated, his tone dropping to something dangerous. One of Claudette's lawyers put a hand on her arm. Mrs. Hartwell, perhaps we should wait inside. Claudette straightened, her mask of civility sliding back into place. You're right. We'll let the judge sort this out. She swept into the courtroom, her lawyers following. Ivy looked up at Brielle. Why is Grandma mad at you, Mama? Brielle knelt down to Ivy's level. She's not mad, baby. She's just sad. And sometimes when people are sad, they act mean. Like when I'm sad and I don't want to share my toys. Ivy asked. Despite everything, Brielle smiled. Yeah, kind of like that. All rise. The Honorable Judge Patricia Moreno presiding, the bailiff announced. Brielle's heart hammered as everyone stood. Judge Moreno entered, a Latina woman in her 50s, sharp eyes, no-nonsense expression. She settled into her seat and reviewed the file in front of her. Please be seated, she said. We're here for the matter of custody regarding the minor child, Ivy Hartwell Lawson. Mrs. Claudette Hartwell petitioning for custody from the biological mother, Ms. Brielle Lawson. Hearing it stated, so officially made it real. Terrifyingly real. I've reviewed the filings from both parties, Judge Moreno continued. We'll hear testimony, review evidence, and I'll speak with the child privately. Let's begin. Mrs. Hartwell, your counsel may proceed. Claudette's lead lawyer, a sharp-faced man named Preston, stood. Your Honor, we'll demonstrate that Ms. Lawson, despite her good intentions, has been unable to provide stable housing, consistent medical care, or a safe environment for Ivy over the past several months. We have documented evidence of housing instability, including motel stays and nights spent in Ms. Lawson's vehicle with the child present. He pulled up photos on a screen. Brielle's old car, the motel she'd stayed at. Ivy's face visible in one shot, looking out the car window. Brielle felt sick. We also have testimony that Ms. Lawson was recently employed as a hotel housekeeper, a position she brought Ivy to due to lack of childcare, forcing the child to work 17-hour days with her mother. Preston continued. That's not. I didn't force her, Brielle started. Julian put a hand on her arm. Not yet, he whispered. Preston spent 20 minutes painting Brielle as a struggling, unstable mother who loved her daughter but simply couldn't provide for her. And the worst part? Much of it was true. Then he called Claudette to the stand. She took the oath with practiced grace and sat down, looking every bit the concerned grandmother. Mrs. Hartwell, can you describe your relationship with your granddaughter? Preston asked. Ivy is my world, Claudette said, her voice thick with emotion. She's all I have left of my son, Marcus. He died 3 years ago, and Ivy is his legacy. And what are your concerns regarding Ivy's current living situation? Preston prompted. I'm terrified for her, Claudette said. Brielle is a good person, but she's in over her head. She lost their home, lost stable employment. She's been moving Ivy from place to place. That child needs consistency, stability. Aprupe, Oma. And you can provide that? Preston asked. Absolutely. I have a 6-bedroom home in Evanston. Ivy would have her own room, a yard to play in, the best schools. I've already enrolled her in a private academy, Claudette stated. Your Honor, we have letters from the school administration welcoming Ivy, as well as statements from child psychologists affirming the importance of stability in early childhood development. Preston added, submitting documents. Judge Moreno reviewed them silently. Mrs. Hartwell, what about Ms. Lawson's current housing situation? I understand she's recently secured housing, the judge asked. Claudette's expression tightened. She's living with a man she barely knows, a Mr. Cade Holloway. They have a so-called rental agreement for $1 a month. It's clearly a romantic entanglement disguised as charity. Objection, Your Honor. Speculation, Julian interjected, standing. Sustained. Stick to facts, counsel, Judge Moreno instructed. But the damage was done. The seed was planted. Preston questioned Claudette for another 10 minutes, then sat down. Julian stood for cross-examination. Mrs. Hartwell, you stated you want what's best for Ivy. Is that correct? Julian began. Of course, Claudette confirmed. And you believe that's living with you, rather than her biological mother? Julian clarified. I believe Ivy deserves stability that Brielle can't currently provide, Claudette replied. You mentioned Ms. Lawson lost her home. Are you aware of why? Julian asked. Claudette hesitated. Financial troubles. Specifically, Medical debt from your son's cancer treatment. Debt exceeding $300,000. Is that correct? Julian pressed. I. Yes, I believe so, Claudette admitted. And did you offer to help with that debt? Julian questioned. Claudette's jaw tightened. I offered to help with funeral expenses, but not the medical debt that bankrupted Ms. Lawson while she was caring for your dying son. Julian pushed. Objection. Relevance. Preston called. Your Honor, it speaks to Mrs. Hartwell's selective concern for the family, Julian argued. I'll allow it. Answer the question, Mrs. Hartwell, Judge Moreno ordered. Claudette's composure cracked slightly. Marcus made his own choices. Brielle chose to pursue aggressive treatment that I felt was futile. I didn't feel responsible for that debt. So you watched your daughter-in-law lose everything trying to save your son, and you offered no financial assistance? Julian summarized. That's not fair, Claudette started. But it's accurate, isn't it? Julian pressed. I grieve my son in my own way, Claudette said defensively. By blaming his widow? Julian asked. Objection, Preston shouted. Withdrawn, Julian said. No further questions. Claudette stepped down, her facade shaken. Then it was Brielle's turn. Her legs felt like water as she approached the stand. She took the oath, her voice barely steady. Julian questioned her first. Gentle, leading questions about her nursing career, her love for Ivy, the circumstances that led to her hardships. Brielle answered honestly. Yes, she'd lost her home. Yes, she'd struggled. But she'd never stopped fighting for her daughter. Ms. Lawson, can you describe your current living situation? Julian asked. I'm renting a room from Mr. Holloway. We have a formal rental agreement. I also recently started working as a pediatric nurse at Northwestern Memorial, where I work 3 12-hour shifts a week. Ivy's enrolled in a quality daycare program near the hospital, Brielle explained. And your relationship with Mr. Holloway? Julian questioned. Brielle's heart raced. She thought of the kiss, the growing feelings. But she said, he's a friend, someone who offered help when I needed it. Nothing more. The lie tasted bitter. Julian sat down. Then Preston stood for cross-examination. And he went for blood. Ms. Lawson, you claim you're renting from Mr. Holloway. For $1 a month, correct? Preston began. Yes, Brielle confirmed. That's quite a generous rent for a mansion in Lake Forest, isn't it? Preston asked. Mr. Holloway offered me a fair arrangement, Brielle replied. Or an arrangement that benefits him in other ways? Preston insinuated. Objection, Julian called. Sustained. Rephrase, counsel, Judge Moreno instructed. Ms. Lawson, how long have you known Mr. Holloway? Preston asked. A few weeks, Brielle admitted. A few weeks, and you're living in his home, sleeping under his roof. With your daughter, Preston stated, in a separate bedroom, with a lock on the door. It's completely appropriate, Brielle defended. Is it appropriate to expose your daughter to a strange man you barely know? Preston challenged. Cade, Mr. Holloway, is not a stranger. He's been nothing but respectful and helpful, Brielle insisted. Has he made advances toward you? Preston asked. Brielle's face heated. No. Are you sure? No inappropriate contact? No romantic entanglement? Preston pressed. Brielle thought of the kiss again. I'm sure. Because it would be convenient, wouldn't it? To secure housing through a romantic relationship with a wealthy man. Preston suggested. That's not what this is, Brielle said firmly. Then what is it? Charity? Pity? What does Mr. Holloway get out of this arrangement? Preston demanded. He gets to help someone who needed it. Not everyone has ulterior motives, Brielle shot back. Preston smiled coldly. We'll see. He questioned her for another 20 minutes. About every mistake, every hardship, every moment of instability. By the time Brielle stepped down, she felt flayed open. Next, Julian called Carol, Brielle's supervisor, who testified to Brielle's excellent work ethic and responsibility. The daycare director confirmed Ivy was thriving, always clean, well-fed, happy. But Brielle could see Judge Moreno's expression. Thoughtful, uncertain. It wasn't enough. Then Judge Moreno said, I'd like to speak with Ivy now, privately, in my chambers. Brielle's heart stopped. Carol brought Ivy into the courtroom. The little girl looked confused, a bit scared. Hi, sweetheart, Judge Moreno said gently. I'm Judge Moreno. I just want to talk to you for a few minutes. Is that okay? Ivy looked at Brielle. Brielle forced a smile and nodded. Okay, Ivy said in a small voice. They disappeared into the judge's chambers. Brielle sat frozen, gripping the edge of the table. Kate, sitting in the gallery, caught her eye. He mouthed, breathe. She tried. 15 minutes felt like 15 hours. Finally, the door opened. Ivy came out, holding the judge's hand. Mama, she called, running to Brielle. Brielle scooped her up, holding her close. You okay, baby? The judge is really nice. She has pictures of puppies in her office, Ivy reported. Judge Moreno returned to the bench, her expression unreadable. We'll take a 30-minute recess while I review everything. Then I'll deliver my decision, she announced. The courtroom emptied into the hallway. Brielle sat on a bench, Ivy in her lap. Kate sat beside her. What did she ask you? Brielle whispered to Ivy. She asked if I was happy, and where I liked to sleep, and if anyone was mean to me. Ivy answered. What did you say? Brielle pressed. I said I'm happy with you, and I like sleeping in the big bed at Mr. Cade's house. And nobody's mean except sometimes other kids at daycare, Ivy explained. Brielle closed her eyes, holding her daughter tighter. 30 minutes later, they filed back in. Judge Moreno looked at the courtroom. I've considered all testimony and evidence, she began. This is a difficult case. Mrs. Hartwell clearly loves her granddaughter and has substantial resources to provide for her. Ms. Lawson has faced significant hardships, but has recently stabilized her situation. Brielle couldn't breathe. However, Judge Moreno continued, the bond between a child and her biological parent is not something to sever lightly. Ivy clearly loves her mother, and while Ms. Lawson's journey has been difficult, she has demonstrated resilience and is currently providing adequate care. Hope flickered in Brielle's chest. That said, I do have concerns about the stability of the current housing arrangement and the speed with which it was established, Judge Moreno stated. The hope died. Therefore, my ruling is as follows. Custody remains with Ms. Brielle Lawson, Judge Moreno declared. Brielle gasped. Tears sprang to her eyes. However, the judge added, this is conditional. Ms. Lawson must maintain stable employment and housing for a period of 6 months. During this time, Mrs. Hartwell will have scheduled visitation rights, 1 weekend per month and alternating holidays. At the end of 6 months, we'll review the situation. If Ms. Lawson has maintained stability, full custody remains with her. If not, we'll revisit this matter. Understood. Yes, Your Honor, Brielle managed, her voice shaking. Yes, Your Honor, Claudette said stiffly, her face a mask of controlled fury. Court is adjourned, Judge Moreno said, bringing down the gavel. Brielle sat there, stunned. She'd won. Ivy was still hers. Julian squeezed her shoulder. Congratulations. Ivy looked up at her mother. What happened, Mama? We get to stay together, baby, Brielle whispered, tears streaming down her face. We get to stay together. She looked back at Kate. He was smiling, eyes bright. They'd done it. Did you just cheer out loud? Because I definitely did writing this. If you're feeling emotional right now, hit that like button and tell me in the comments what you thought of the judge's decision. And subscribe, because what happens next is going to warm your heart. 6 months later, Brielle stood in the kitchen of what she now confidently called home, making pancakes from scratch, not the box kind Kate used to make. It was Saturday morning, her day off. Ivy was still asleep upstairs. The past 6 months had been a whirlwind. Work at the hospital was demanding but fulfilling. Ivy was thriving in school. And Claudette. Surprisingly, Claudette had softened. The monthly visits were stiff at first. But gradually, she'd stopped making barbed comments. Stopped looking at Brielle with disdain. Last month, she'd actually asked how Brielle was doing, and seemed to genuinely want to know. Grief, Brielle had learned, made people do strange things. And sometimes, with time, they found their way back. Something smells good, a deep voice said behind her. Brielle smiled without turning around. Your pancakes smell good too. Like charcoal. Cade came up behind her, arms wrapping around her waist, chin resting on her shoulder. You gonna hold that over me forever? Probably, Brielle replied, leaning back into him. They've been officially together for 4 months now. Took things slow at first. Dinner dates, late night talks, stolen kisses when Ivy was asleep. But had grown into something real. Something solid. Cade pressed a kiss to her temple. 6-month review is next week. I know, Brielle said. Nervous? He asked. A little. But I've done everything the judge asked. Stable job. Stable housing. Ivy's happy and healthy, Brielle listed. You've done more than that. You've built a life, Cade corrected. Brielle turned in his arms to face him. We build a life. Cade smiled. That full, dimpled smile that still made her heart skip. Yeah, we did. Mr. Cade. Mama. Ivy's voice called from upstairs. I'm hungry. Pancakes are ready. Brielle called back. Thundering footsteps on the stairs. Ivy appeared, pajamas wrinkled, hair sticking up. Can we have the syrup with the funny name? Ivy asked. You mean maple? Cade replied. Yeah, that one. Ivy confirmed, climbing onto her stool at the kitchen island. Brielle plated pancakes. Kate poured juice. They moved around each other with easy familiarity. This was home. After breakfast, Kate took Ivy to the backyard to work on the tree house he was building. Brielle cleaned up, watching them through the window. Ivy adored Kate, called him Uncle Cade still, though Brielle suspected the little girl was hoping for an upgrade eventually. Brielle's phone rang. Claudette's name on the screen. She answered. Hello, Claudette. Brielle, I wanted to confirm pickup time for Ivy today. 2 o'clock, correct? Claudette asked. Yes. I'll have her ready, Brielle confirmed. A pause. Then, Brielle, I wanted to say something. Okay, Brielle said cautiously. I was wrong. About you. About everything, Claudette admitted. You're a good mother. Better than I gave you credit for. And Ivy is thriving with you. I can see that now. Brielle's throat tightened. Thank you for saying that. I let my grief make me cruel. I'm sorry, Claudette continued. Understand. I really do, Brielle said softly. Marcus will be proud of you, of how you fought for your daughter. For the life you've built, Claudette said, her voice thick. Tears stung Brielle's eyes. That means a lot. I'll see you at 2, Claudette said. See you then, Brielle replied. When she hung up, she wiped her eyes. Healing wasn't linear, but it was possible. That evening, after Claudette picked up Ivy, Brielle and Cade had the house to themselves. They made dinner together. Well, Brielle cooked while Cade chopped vegetables and provided commentary. You're very bossy in the kitchen, Cade observed. You're very bad at following directions, Brielle countered. I'm ex-military. I'm excellent at following directions, Cade protested. Then why did you put the garlic in before the onions? Brielle challenged. Does it matter? Cade asked. Yes, Brielle exclaimed. Cade laughed, pulling her close. I love you. The words hung in the air. It was the first time he'd said it. Brielle's breath caught. What? I love you, Cade repeated, cupping her face. I've loved you for months. Probably since you called me out for being controlling on day one. Maybe even before that. And I know it's complicated and we're still figuring things out, but I needed you to know. Brielle stared at him. This man who'd appeared out of nowhere and changed everything. I love you too, she whispered. Cade's smile was brilliant. He kissed her, deep and slow and full of promise. When they pulled apart, Brielle said, The garlic's burning. Let it burn, Cade murmured against her lips. She laughed. Absolutely not. I'm not letting you ruin another meal. But she kissed him again first. A week later, Brielle stood in the same courtroom with Judge Moreno. 6 months had passed. The conditional period was over. This time, Claudette's lawyers weren't there. Just Claudette herself, sitting quietly in the gallery. Judge Moreno reviewed the reports. Employment records. Daycare evaluations. Home stability documentation. Ms. Lawson, you've exceeded expectations, the judge stated. Your employment is stable. Ivy is thriving. All conditions have been met. Thank you, Your Honor, Brielle said. Full custody is permanently granted to you. Visitation with Mrs. Hartwell will continue as scheduled, but there will be no further review unless circumstances drastically change. Congratulations, Judge Moreno concluded. Relief flooded through Brielle so powerfully she nearly collapsed. It was over. She'd won. Outside the courtroom, Claudette approached. Congratulations, the older woman said. Thank you, Brielle replied. I meant what I said on the phone. You're a good mother. Ivy is lucky to have you, Claudette stated. She's lucky to have you too, as a grandmother. Not a replacement mother, but a grandmother who loves her. That's what she needs, Brielle said. Claudette's eyes glistened. I'd like that. So would I, Brielle agreed. They weren't friends. Might never be, but they were family. Complicated, messy, healing family. And that was enough. 3 months after that, on a crisp autumn day, Cade took Brielle and Ivy to the park. Ivy ran ahead to the swings, leaving the adults walking slowly behind. Can I ask you something? Cade said. Always, Brielle replied. When you think about the future, what do you see? Cade asked. Brielle looked at him. Are we talking 5 years or 5 minutes from now? Either. Both, Cade answered. Brielle considered. 5 minutes from now, I see us pushing Ivy on the swings. 5 years from now. She paused. I see this. Us. Still together. Still building something real. What about 5 months from now? Cade pressed. Same thing. What? Brielle asked. Cade stopped walking, reached into his jacket pocket. Brielle's heart started pounding. Because 5 months from now, I want to marry you, Cade said, pulling out a small velvet box. I want to make this official. Make us official. I want to be Ivy's dad, if she'll have me. I want to wake up next to you every morning and argue about cooking techniques every night. I want everything, Brielle. With you. He opened the box. A simple, beautiful ring. Brielle's hands flew to her mouth, tears streaming. Kate, will you marry me? He asked. From his swings, Ivy shrieked. Say yes, Mama. Say yes. Brielle laughed through her tears. Were you in on this? Uncle Cade asked me first. I said yes. Now you have to. Ivy called back. Brielle looked at Cade. This man who'd seen her at her lowest and loved her anyway. Who'd fought for her when she couldn't fight for herself. Who'd become home. Yes, she said. Yes, I'll marry you. Cade slipped the ring on her finger and kissed her as Ivy cheered from the swings. And Brielle realized something. She'd spent so long fighting just to survive. Fighting to keep Ivy. Fighting to make it through each day. But this wasn't fighting. This was living. Really, truly living. Sometimes the hardest part of strength isn't fighting alone. It's accepting help when it's offered. Pride can protect us, but it can also isolate us from the very people who want to stand beside us. Brielle learned that accepting help wasn't weakness. It was wisdom. That letting someone in wasn't giving up control. It was sharing the load. Life will knock you down. It may take things from you. Jobs, homes, dignity, hope. But if you keep fighting, if you hold on to what matters most and refuse to let go, you can rebuild. Not just survive, but thrive. And maybe, just maybe, you'll find that what you build from the ashes is even stronger than what you lost. Never give up. Accept help when it's real. Love fiercely. Fight for what matters. And always, always remember, you're stronger than you think, braver than you believe, and worthy of every good thing that comes your way. If this story inspired you, changed your perspective, or it just made you feel something real, share it. Comment below with one word describing how you feel right now. And subscribe, because stories like this on our channel, they're just getting started. Thank you for watching. See you in the next story.